it's Auroville Discovery Program. And the main idea of this program is to know what work means in Auroville, and through work we discover our own self. The idea is to discover your own inner self by working in Auroville. And here we are trying to bridge that between work and your inner discovery. And today we will start the program with a small film. It's a 15 minutes film about Auroville, and it's called The Dream. So, and now we'll start a session. Please watch the film, and after that we will have a presentation, and then we'll have a invited Aurovillian. Zech is here, and he will lead the session. And in between that, we have a reflection sheet as well. It is for you to fill and to keep it for yourself. We will also give it to you at one point. And yeah, you can feel free to ask questions. There is a Q&A after Zech's orientation, and then we go. Yeah, thank you. Enjoy.
So I've been in Auroville since 2019, and I consciously came to join Auroville because I have discovered Aurobindo and the mother 20 years ago when I was living in Hong Kong. So I was born and grew up in the Philippines, which is Roman Catholic, and then Hong Kong is Buddhist Taoist. So you can see quite a contrast in those two, how do you call it, ways of life. And now I'm working full-time with Saran, one of the biggest and most dynamic units in Auroville. We're into sound healing, manufacturing the instruments itself. So from 7 people 23 years ago, now it's almost 100. And it's a wealth-producing unit. As you have heard from the presentations, there was already a lot that has been covered. So I think you already have a lot of questions that you have within you to ask from the presentations. And so the first time I came, I was with Savitri Bhavan for 1.5 years. And one of the speakers in the presentation was Shadavan, but she already left her body. So now to make things straight to the point, what questions do you have watching and hearing all those presentations? Because there's already a lot there. Is there anything specific that you want to ask from what you have watched and what you have heard? Anyone? Yes.
Also when I watched some videos before I came here, it was linked on YouTube for it's like the city without money. And yeah, I wanted to ask how it's exactly working, because I feel it's dealing with money, also you're having that other principle like with writing the name and the cost. How was it like back those days, and how did it develop? How is it now? How is it handled?
Yes, as you know, right now we're still in this world whereby we have a medium of exchange of energy, which means when you work, because this is our subject about work, no? When you work, you give energy. If you're a farmer, you have all these different things in your farm, for example, a cow. And you want to have a taste of a fish. So what would you use to exchange that fish for with the fisherman? You can't bring your whole cow to go and exchange for fish. So that's why money is a monetary unit whereby there is a value of how much is your cow and how much is the fish. So the money is just a unit of exchange of energy. So you have to look at it like that. No? So that's why even Aurobindo, in one of his books, The Mother, have spoken about wealth in chapter 4 of that book. How wealth is being used, or how money is being used, either for a divine purpose or an undivine purpose. Because as you understand, on this earth, when we talk about human unity, the word unity means oneness. And that oneness, when you look at earth, now you have many pictures from satellites, no? When you look at it as one, you cannot exclude one part from the other. It's one system. That's why we say, when you look at that, the dark and the light is both part of it. You cannot exclude it from the plane. So from that understanding of unity, of oneness, now comes also the understanding that there's so many variations of that oneness. Just looking at each other in this room, we are one, but look how unique and distinct each individual is. So this is the reality of this human unity. You have to add another word there, human unity in diversity, because this is the truth of existence. That yet, again, something which is the opposite, which is undivine. No, I can't say light without referring to its opposite, which is dark. So when you talk about divine, what is it you mean about divine? You cannot separate its opposite from it. That's why if you're looking at everything should be given to you just because it has to be given, but you remember you are part of the oneness. So what is it you're giving into the collectivity? It's a spiral thing, no? It's a circular thing.
But if there was no money involved, surely your work would just be a service to the oneness, to humanity, to the world.
Yeah, the service is there. This is why we call it work. The action behind it is work. So now if you're giving that service, then in an ideal society, the basic needs of a human, because we're in a human body, no? The human body has basic needs: food, shelter, clothing,
Okay.
healthcare, education, and work. This is very important. You cannot just be given something and you're just sitting pretty, having a sunbath. No? Why would I give something to you if you're not contributing to the economy? So that's why the work is very important as well. So that's why when Sajiv was saying, he was sharing his experience, that yes, he has to give that energy into producing something which is for the collectivity. And then from there, automatically, something comes back. Because this is what we call the feedback loop. Energy is when you give something, it automatically comes back, no? So that is the ideal. But in our world at this moment, we're still going towards that. There's a lot of challenges on earth right now, especially in terms of how money was used by the system. It is no secret that it was used to enslave humans, no? The way money is used right now. So that is the ideal. But again, the work is part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, the money is just a monetary form of exchange for energy. So that's what we're doing here. And when you work, it's not just like what the presentation has been showing. It's not just for our individual benefit, but for the benefit of the collectivity. That's why human unity is the theme. Does that satisfy your question?
Does that mean, are you asking that money the ultimate goal.
In the beginning, Auroville had difficulty with funds. You can see that it was a barren plateau. So in the development, for the last 58 years, there was a point in time where those funds or money had to be created. And then from there, it's a constant evolution. And that creation still was dependent on the modality of creating funds on Earth at that particular time. So that's why many of these wealth-producing units, the money-generating units, still has to produce something and sell it so that it comes back into the system. So it's like that. Because otherwise, those who have that ideal, what will we use to fund you? No? So it's an ongoing process. Now the Prosperity Fund is again part of the discussion in Auroville, how we can bring it back. So it is in the process again. It's not an easy subject, especially that we still have a lot of, for example, wealth-generating units. We can't just rely on donations because that is not, it's like we're not giving fish, but we're teaching how to fish. No, this is a very common proverb. You're not here to just give handouts, to receive handouts. You have to work for it. Because with that work, then you can engage with whatever unit or community you are engaging with. And that's part of the evolutionary process of becoming more and more conscious of who we are within and without. That's why work is very important. Through work, you engage with people. And that engagement is multi-level. You will be tested. You know, your patience, what are your skills, even anger management. It's all part of that collective system. That's why a community was needed. Because we can't evolve just by ourselves. It's impossible. So that is part of the work. You see, when you look at things, you have to not look at it, you have to look at it in its many dimensions. Working with Swaram, I encounter every day so many different people, so many different challenges. And it builds up the capacity for understanding, the capacity for compassion, the capacity to understand the difficulties that humanity has been challenged with. You know, right now, you're very aware that, yes, here, you see, we can be very peaceful. But in other parts of our earth, remember, human unity is an actual human unity. When we talk about human unity, it's not an ideal, it's an actuality. Because fundamentally, we are already one. So human unity is already. You just have to manifest it. That's why in the charter, it's not just human unity. It says a living embodiment of an actual human unity. So human unity is already actually. So, but manifesting it, realizing it, making it more obvious is the necessary inner discovery that each individual has to go through. That fundamentally we are already one. And then from there, you see everybody as not separate from us. They're all us, just looking differently. And then from that realization, how can I even harm you? You are me. No? So that's why the human unity starts from here. You cannot impose it from the external. You know, that becomes all these fascistic religions or this and that. So when you talk about those things, it's all connected. You know, everything is connected. So, any other questions? Yeah.
What is the exact meaning of spiritual life? Exact meaning of spiritual life.
Oh, yes. So that's why when you say spirit, no, that's spirit, a spiritual life, which means the life that we are living right now. We have a life. We are living beings. Now, within that living being, as a living Homo sapiens, as a living human being, we have this form. And we observe that this form has limitations. It is based on uncertainty. You're born. Sometimes people by birth, they don't even move forward. They die by birth. So you can see the uncertainty, the limitations, bound by disease, bound by death. No? So this is a living being. Is bound by uncertainty. But within that living being, there is something that we call the spirit. And that spirit is deathless. Now that realization of the spirit within the living being, now you start a spiritual life. Because spirit and matter, or spirit and the form, now becomes one. And then so from there, you see the same spirit in everyone. The mystics have been talking about this for thousands of years. The Vedas, the Upanishads, Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita. Now in our age, you have quantum physics, which is an occult science. You have an electron microscope that says, when I look at you, you're not just a form. You're made up of atoms and subatomic particles and energy, which is not separate from her atoms. And so you can see the oneness. Fundamentally, that is a fact. So the spiritual life that the mystics have revealed to us is now reaffirmed, reconfirmed by our modern sciences. So there's no more excuse for the ignorance that we are not one. Because fundamentally, there's only one. One field of energy, and we are all that. Just looking as different forms. As flower, as everything. The whole universe itself is us. So once that is realized, then you start living a spiritual life. So that is the meaning of it. Yeah. Any other questions so far?
I have a question, and it might be more about your personal journey, if that's okay.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. What were the biggest? And you're a Aurovillian now.
Yes, I'm now Aurovillian from Hong Kong, out of 60 nationalities.
Oh, right. I was wondering, what did you notice, and what were the biggest things that you noticed when you moved from being a volunteer to a newcomer to an Aurovillian?
I didn't even volunteer.
You didn't even volunteer.
Yes. Because before I came, in Hong Kong, I'm an academic. I teach math, science, computers, arts and crafts. And so before I even, many individuals, it's like coming from a Roman Catholic background, I questioned that. So when I went to Hong Kong, I was in the field of computers, and it's a Buddhist Taoist. So I was practicing a Vajrayana Buddhist tradition, which is a Tantric Buddhist tradition, and I had a Tibetan guru, because I had so many questions about life. And from there, I experienced a Kundalini awakening, an out-of-body experience. And then from there, when I came back, the question is what to do with this. This is the time when Sri Aurobindo came in the picture and says, the next level is to transform the form. Remember what you have heard from the presentation? A conscious evolution. What does evolution mean? Now we are in a Homo sapiens body. How many billions of years of life on Earth before it became a Homo sapiens? What is our science say? At least 4 billion years, no? Did life on Earth start with the Homo sapiens? Would it stop with Homo sapiens? Evolution is a never-ending process. So this is fundamental with Sri Aurobindo and Namada. Man is a transitional being, we are not final. So that's why when the presentation talks about the dream, the Auroville Charter, there is another document that you have to be aware of. It's called To Be a True Aurovillian. This is very important. If you go to the website, auroville.org, and you click Vision, there are the three core documents. A dream, Auroville Charter, and To Be a True Aurovillian. This is very specific. So, my path started from there when I discovered Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. And then when I was reading Sri Aurobindo and Sri Aurobindo, another personality came, which is a French lady running his ashram. I said, what is this French lady running an Indian ashram? And so I had to discover her. Because if anyone proposes something to me, I cannot just accept that individual. As a scientist, I have to apply the scientific method. So I had to learn who is this Sri Aurobindo and who is this Madan. So you have to satisfy yourself. Remember, we are intellectual beings. You cannot just accept something without using your intellect or your power of discrimination to find out who is it that is proposing something to you. No? And Auroville is them. Without them, there would be no Auroville. So from there, I was already practicing the teachings of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. And at some point, in the higher levels of the yoga, because now the whole thing is that Homo sapiens has come into an existential crisis. And we're right smack in the middle of the evolutionary transformation, where we're going to transform into another species. That's why in Auroville, when you read To Be a True Aurovillian, number 5, it says the whole earth must prepare for the new species. And Auroville wants to work consciously to hasten that advent. So this is the supreme vision goal behind Auroville. We're not just here to maintain, sustain, or entertain the human as we are. We are here to hasten that evolution as a conscious evolution. You have to have a goal in life. Without the goal, you're just floating about until your physical body gets old and leaves you. That is not the goal of Auroville. This must be very clear from the outset why Auroville was created. It is for that vision goal. So that is the point. So I had to come back to the Philippines, and I lived for 6 years doing the higher levels of the yoga. So on the 5th year, I became brahmachari. Because the next species, do you want to know what Sri Aurobindo and the Mother was talking about on the new species? Yes or no? It's not anymore male-female. Because the consciousness is genderless. And this form, like we said, is a limited form. When you look at it, it's so easily destroyed. That's why you see all the wars happening on earth. It's not a secret, no? People are still killing each other, bombing each other, cheating each other, raping. Is that the ideal world? Yes or no? Of course not. No? So that's the ideal of Auroville, is to go beyond those limitations. This is cutting edge in the evolutionary process. You're not just here to escape your world, to bring it here. No, we're here to transform it. Without this vision goal, it's meaningless. So you have to have meaning and purpose in your life. And that will take 200 to 300 years on a conservative level. That's why the community was being prepared. Because all the other generations who will come, when you have a sense of unity, is none other than us. You get it? You're not just working for yourself. You're working for all the other us who will come until that divine manifestation happens. And then you can say that there is a life divine on earth. So when I came here, after 6 years living in the forest in the Philippines, specifically, I told them I'm here to continue my practice of the integral supramental yoga of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. That was in 2019. So from there, things happened quite smoothly. Because in the yoga, I'm already in a state of surrender to a force that is infinitely greater than my own. This is part of the yoga. We call it the jnana, the karma, and the bhakti. The bhakti is the most important thing. So these things, if it's part of the learning process. You are in India because there's something that we don't like in the old world, no? Are you satisfied with the old world? Yes or no? That's why you are here. We want to change that. And then from that conviction, then we move forward. And we're not here to be ignorant. We're here to be super conscious. Remember, it's a conscious evolution. So the consciousness must be upgraded. That's why the jnana, as part of the three legs of the yoga, jnana, karma, bhakti, is the yoga of knowledge. And then so when that knowledge increases, the karma, the action, will be more effective because it's based on knowledge. So from there, you will see the feedback loop of application of the knowledge with the action. And there are things that we are not, we have no power over. That is why the bhakti is very important, the bhakti. So when I came that time, that was in 2019, and I said I want to do the newcomer immediately. And it just happened naturally because I was in a state of surrender to the force, which we call the mother force. When we talk about the mother in Auroville, we talk about the force that is giving birth to the whole universe. Right here, right now, you're just made out of atoms and subatomic particles. Who is giving birth to all of us? So from there, it started. You have to have that firm intention to make a change. And Auroville, when you look at the ideal vision goals of Auroville, which is based on Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, then you can see hope. Because when you look on earth, with all the other ways of changing it, in a political way, in a social way, in an institutional way, it's not possible. Because you cannot just change it with the same problem as the humans have brought into it. There must be something else than that. And this is what is offered by Sri Aurobindo. It is not just a philosophy. It is something that is manifest. You can see Auroville is manifest. It's not just an intellectual philosophy. It's been happening for 58 years. No? Something solid. So it means there's something behind what they have proposed. And this we are continuing. So at this point in time, after a few generations who have carried their torch, now we are the torch holders. Now many people are coming with all sorts of reasons. But this is the first reason. Are you ready to carry that torch forward according to the vision goal of Auroville? So you have to really know quite well what Auroville represents. No, I think the presentation was very clear enough, no? Why we are here. So you have to ask yourself, am I willing to be part of that adventure, the adventure of consciousness, towards a divine life on earth, or not? The whole world is huge. If you don't agree with it, you can try other things. But Auroville has its specificity, so that is very important. Without acknowledging that specificity, then the individual, it does not harmonize with that vision goal. It will become a disharmony. And you know what happens with disharmony, no? It becomes a disease. It becomes a resistance to what Auroville represents. So before you join, you have to be really sure why you are joining Auroville. For what reason? Is it just for your own self-satisfaction? or to change the world. This is the whole essence of it. This is very important to be firm on that. No? So, any other questions? So you have watched the presentation quite, there's a lot that has been covered from that presentation. Is there anything that is not clear to you? It's quite clear, no? And I've added that last point, to be a true Aurovillian. This completes the whole vision goal. A dream, Auroville Charter, to be a true Aurovillian, which is, the mother was very specific when she wrote it. So that is the long-term vision goal of why Auroville was created. We're not here to repeat the old world. We're here to change it. So this is very important. Not just in understanding, but materially, physically. A new species. This you really have to get it into your mind. This is what Auroville is for. And it will take a few generations for that to happen. So you have to take care of all the generations who are coming. Very important to understand this.
You said that you became a brahmachari. So what is the meaning of that? You became a brahmachari life.
Yeah, because at the moment, as humans, first you have to understand what we are transitioning to. What is the conscious evolution about, no? Conscious evolution, no? So right now, we are in a form, the spirit is in a form as Homo sapiens, which is male and female. And Homo sapiens has its programmings as Homo sapiens. It's a very limited form. It's bound by the pursuit of money, power, and sex. And many people kill for this. This is the most difficulty with humans. The pursuit of money, the pursuit of power, and the pursuit of sex. So you can have the money and power, so you can have the most sex you want. This is very common for the Homo sapiens because it's an animal species. It's an animal physiology.
To come up from that.
Yes, because you can see the limitation of that. In the evolution of life on Earth, right now we are just in that Homo sapiens modality. But it doesn't end there. That's why in history, certain individuals that we call avatars, especially in India, they come to change the paradigm. And the latest avatar who have come are Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, because they have planted the seed for a new level of consciousness we call the supramental, which is beyond mind. Right now, we're operating on the mental consciousness, which is what we call an ego mind. And that mental consciousness has a false perception that it is separate from everything else. Therefore, the fighting, the jealousy, the greed happens. And the form that it creates, which is this form, the form is a projection of consciousness, is based on that limited ego mind. That's why when you look at me, do you see the trillions of cells in my body? Do you see it with your human eyes? No, you see? You can't see the reality of what is behind the form. And then when you look at that, in that reality, what is the difference of this form with that form? No? So that is the false perception of that consciousness we call the mental. So that's why an avatar comes and you see what that has created on earth. Lots of wars, lots of greed, lots of selfishness, lots of killing. We don't want that anymore. And then from that, how do you call it? Aspiration. Comes an avatar that says, yes, bring down to earth this new level of consciousness that is already a truth unity consciousness. And that truth unity consciousness has been planted on earth. That's why we celebrate 29 February 1956 in Auroville. Now, when I talk about these things, it's very easy for you to get the information. Everything is available online. You can even use AI. This is part of the evolution. No? So this is what is happening now on Earth. Yeah.
You said that the latest Auroville Sri mother.
Yeah.
But we're saying Kalki of that. So anything linked with that?
Yes, because first, when you talk about Kalki, what is the symbol of the Kalki? What does Kalki bring? Now, first you have to understand, no? When you say Kalki, there are symbolisms and meanings behind that word. So the Kalki, we know, is the last avatar in a human body that brings in the golden age. No? That prepares the Satya Yuga. So they have to come to prepare it first. Like a huge tree, it doesn't just become a tree. A small seed must be planted before, and you have to nurture it before that tree becomes a big tree. So it's the same thing with what is happening now. So the avatar comes, brings that new level of consciousness, which is a truth unity consciousness, and they termed it as the supramental, beyond the mind. And then from there, it grows. You need time. So this is what is happening. From that point onwards, that's why we say, this is the point, 29 February 1956. That's the time when this supramental consciousness force has been active on our planet. And then from there, Auroville, the supramental has already been embodied by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Because as avatar, they have to incarnate in a human body. Remember, their human body, is it separate from our body? Everything is one. So they become the contagion for all the other human bodies to be infected by it, to be influenced by it. No? So this is the whole essence of it. So from that time onwards, even the creation of a community that would consciously continue what they have started has been envisioned by Sri Aurobindo. He calls it the city of God. And then from there, the Mother manifested it. You see? Once the avatar comes and plants the seed, it is unstoppable. You cannot stop it. Evolution, how can you stop evolution? Can you stop evolution? You cannot stop evolution. It's either you understand what is behind evolution or not. And then if you understand it, then of course you have no choice but to participate in it. So this is what is behind Auroville. The knowledge, the force, the power that is behind this place. See, it is quite interesting. It is no ordinary place. So you have to decide whether you are for that or you want to repeat what you have in the whole world. No? So that is a choice that you have to make. You know, there are many people who are proposing so many things. If you want that everything is given to you for free, you can join a Buddhist ashram or a Buddhist temple. Everything will be given to you. But of course, you have to clean the temple. Huh? No? So it's like that. There are many people proposing this and that. So that's why in Auroville, if you want to understand Auroville, you first have to understand these two individuals who are the founders of Auroville. Then you have an understanding of it. Now it's very easy for you to understand it because of our information and communications technology. Even with AI, you ask a specific question and it will crawl through all the knowledge and experiences that we have accumulated. And in 3 seconds, it will give you the answer. All the writings of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother are digitized. It's available now. There's no excuse for ignorance. It's just up to you. Yeah. So from there, your point of view changes. Totally changes. It's not just here to entertain, to sustain, or maintain our old human way of life. There is something, a life divine. Can you imagine it? No? So now, any specific question? What are the characteristics of this new species that are coming? First of all, it's genderless. Still made of matter, the Panchabhutas, but it's morphable, it's changeable. That is the new species. And you see right now, as a human species, you have to kill an animal or a plant just to survive. But everything is energy. You don't need to kill anything anymore at that point in time. Eh? So you have to widen your understanding of what is happening on this planet, who you are behind you. What are the forces at play? So that is part of the education. Because in Auroville, you have day and night. And after your work of 36 hours a day, 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening, you get to talk to so many different people. We have so many cafes. You can talk, I do satsang. This is one of my roles here. I'm full-time working in Swaram, but I also play music. I'm a writer. Every week there's a news and notes. I have an article in news and notes. And I engage with the community because many people like you come and they have so many questions. What is Auroville? What are you doing here? What can we do here? So we do what we call a satsang, a dynamic satsang. So it happens breakfast, lunch, dinner in Auroville. And you'll meet so many people with different points of view. But the fundamentals of Auroville are Aurobindo and Namada. Then you can synthesize whatever you are learning and whatever you are experiencing at work. So that's very important. But yeah,
Satsang is where your satsang.
it happens dynamically. It happens spontaneously. Yeah. But you can find me in Swaram because I'm there Monday to Saturday. Many people visit Swaram, and then we get to talk there. And then after that, you say, "Hey, you want to meet after work? Neem tree or this and that." We have so many beautiful places of engagement. This is the beauty of Aurobindo. Oh, how fascinating! You won't get bored in this city. But as long as you're into that vision of the divine possibility of life on earth, then you will be happy. But if you're against that, I'm sorry. No, so you cannot be satisfied. So any other questions so far? I hope I have made myself clear. No, that's why in Auroville you will see the pictures of Sri Aurobindo and Namada are here. They are guides. And they're always pointing us to the source as guides. That's why Matri Mandir is the symbol, is the temple of the Mahashakti, which is the supreme creative force that is giving birth to all of us. Oh, there's so much things to learn. So much. So if you're interested, welcome. Auroville, we're on the face. We are on what we call another upward face because when I came in 2019, that was still the old system, and then COVID came. So from what I see it in my perspective, the Matri Mandir took 37 years to build, and there's a bit of a resting period. And then COVID comes, awakens humanity. At the same time, the Indian government that has been part of us since 1988, as you saw from the film, Sri Aurobindo and the mother are in politics, no? So they looked at Auroville and said, where's the city that Sri Aurobindo and the mother has envisioned? Why is it not happening? So there was a big change that happened, which is like a wake-up call. And now, from that bottom, we're now again on the upward swing. Remember, our target is 50,000 people. Right now, there are about less than 3,000 official Aurovillians, and everyone who's engaging, maybe we're about 10,000. So that's still too far from the 50,000. And as humans, you still have to feed this. You need work, education, basic needs. So we have to work for that. No? We need to work for that. So it's very important. So are you willing to be part of that adventure or not? It's always, you have to decide. We're here to support you in whatever way, in the knowledge, in the creation of opportunities. Auroville is there. You have to be just sincere. No, we're not here to create trouble. But if you create trouble, then someone will kick your butt. This is very clear. we won't go for troublemakers, no? Because that is one of the teachings of the Gita, the warrior, no? The Kshatriya. We don't close our eyes on that as well. Yeah? Clear?